All right, welcome to another video on the Giant Take YouTube channel. I'm Josh. We are going to have an episode out tomorrow recapping the Giants' 53-man roster that is out now, surprising cuts, and also if they make any waiver signings, we will have that on there as well. I just want to get this video out now because the 53-man roster right now is confirmed with the waivers, and that will happen tomorrow. I want to get into that. Surprising cuts. I will be looking a lot at my phone here, so if I'm looking down, that's exactly why I'm going to be looking at my phone. And you'll have some pictures of the players and stuff like that in between here. So let's get right into the 53-man roster, and then I will talk about each position and the players that got cut from each position in the roster. You'll see what I mean later. So first of all, let's start with quarterbacks. Giants rocking with two quarterbacks once again this season. The two are Daniel Jones and Mike Glennon. Obviously, the Giants brought in another quarterback, former Patriots. I think it was Brian Lewerke was how you said his name. And I think he played in the last two preseason games after not so good performance from the last Giants QB. Before that, I just can't think of his name off the top of my head, but did not play well. So they brought in Lewerke. He got cut though today. Maybe he gets put on the practice squad. I've heard that a little bit. Those are the two quarterbacks for the Giants in the 53-man roster. Running back position, Saquon Barkley, Devontae Booker, and Gary Brightwell are the only three running backs. Well, interestingly enough, Colin Gillespie and Elijah Penny are two fullbacks that both make the roster. That both make the roster. That's interesting. Usually we don't see that a lot. And the Giants only have three running backs, especially it's weird when Saquon Barkley might not play week one. We don't know yet. So that's a bit interesting. We also have defensive linemen. Now moving into the defensive side of things. Defensive line is Austin Johnson, Raymond Johnson, who had a really good preseason and training camp, Dexter Lawrence, Danny Shelton, and Leonard Williams. Now moving on to the linebackers, Cam Brown, Lorenzo Carter, Carter Coughlin, Tay Crowder, Trent Harris, Blake Martinez, Azeez Ojulari, Reggie Ragland, Ellerson Smith, and O'Shane Zimenez. Now moving on to wide receivers and tight ends. I'm going on in the way the Giants pictures on Twitter went, so I don't know why it's bouncing around like this, but this is just how it goes. So Giants wide receivers, they keep CJ Board. I'll get into the cuts for that later. Kenny Golladay, Dante Pettis, John Ross, Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, and Kadarius Toney. Onto tight ends, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, and Caden Smith. While Ingram, though, is injured, so we'll have to take a look at that. Now defensive backs, Sam Beal somehow makes the Giants roster once again after opting out last season. James Bradbury, Keon Crossan, Darnay Holmes, Adoree Jackson, Josh Jackson, Julian Love, Xavier McKinney, Jabril Peppers, Logan Ryan, and Rodarius Williams, the Giants' late round pick, makes it in here to the defensive backs. Onto the offensive line, the new signing or trade that I'll talk about. The new offensive lineman we got from that trade, Ben Bredeson, makes it in here to the offensive line. Nick Gates, as well as Will Hernandez, Shane Lemieux, Matt Parrott, who had a not so good training camp, or I should say preseason games didn't look so good. Billy Pride, Nate Soldier, and Andrew Thomas. While special teams, take a look at this. Riley Dixon and Graham Cano, only two special teams, no long snapper. So we're going to have to take a look into that. And that's the Giants video that they posted a little bit ago. So getting into the trade now, this is the exact part of the trade. The Giants received a guard, Ben Bredeson. I think he is 22 years old. He was a fourth-round pick. And the Giants also received a 2022 fifth-round pick and a 2023 seventh-round pick, while the Baltimore Ravens received a 2022 fourth-round pick. So I think it's a good trade for either side. Looking into the trade a little bit more, so we obviously talked about what happened with the trade here. So it comes 24 hours after the Giants added interior lineman Billy Price, who also made the roster from Cincinnati. They sent defensive lineman BJ Hill and a conditional seventh round 2022 draft choice to the Bengals. Now I'm happy, I should say. And it's good that the New York Giants didn't just sit back and not do anything here. They traded players in order to acquire offensive linemen that we knew they needed help with. I'll get into the offensive line cuts, but I think that's good that they're addressing that. On to Bredeson. He's 6'4" and 315 pounds. He's entering his second NFL season. He was a 2020 fourth round draft choice, number 143 by the Ravens. Played in 10 games as a rookie, mostly on special teams. He also appears in extra lineman in some offensive packages. I believe he is a guard as well. So that's the news on Ben Bredeson. Now, per position, who got cut? We'll go into that now. Quarterbacks, I already mentioned it. Brian Lewerke got cut. Running backs, very surprising. Gary Brightwell, the late draft choice, makes it in instead of the veteran Corey Clement. And Alfred Morris got cut earlier in training camp after getting brought in. So that's a big thing that happened here. And obviously Corey Clement will not be with the Giants. He was on Philly for a little bit. Not going to be with the New York Giants. Cut a lot of the young wide receivers. This includes David Sills, Matt Cole, Alex Bachman, Austin Mack, and Damian Willis. The only young wide receiver the Giants kept around was CJ Board, who played a few times last season, or I think a good amount of games. So there you go. That's for the wide receivers. The tight ends that got cut: Nakia Griffin-Stewart and Jake Hausman. I don't really have much to say on either of those guys. The offensive line, a big one is Jonathan Harrison. A lot of people, including myself, are not happy that Jonathan Harrison has been cut. He was a good player, looked good in training camp. Interesting that he is not on the roster. Some people who have not been that good are also in this list: Kenny Wiggins, Ted Larson, Chad Slade, Jackson Barden, Jake Burton, Brett Heggie. A lot of these players are either first or second team or second year players or rookies, like I said. So that is most likely why they are not on the roster. Ted Larson's an interesting one too. I believe he is a veteran. So interesting. Defensive line, the cuts were Willie Henry, who's actually been in the NFL for a while, David Moa, and Elijah Qualls. For inside linebackers, Devontae Downs was finally cut. I've been talking about it since last season. He was not good, and he's finally off this roster. So that is a good thing. PUP, I should mention that. Aaron Robinson, the third-round pick for the New York Giants, will start on the PUP list. So that means he'll be injured, I believe, to start the season. He'll have to miss at least the first 6 weeks of the season. So that's a big deal. And then the Giants also cut Madre Harper. He had a pick, I think, the other day, maybe in like a training camp session. Safety, there was Chris Johnson and Jordan Peters were cut, and special teams. The Giants cut Casey Kreider on Tuesday, but they intend to re-sign him anyway. So it shouldn't be that big of a deal. So yeah, that is the New York Giants, the 53-man roster, the surprising cuts, the surprising cuts, and the trade for another offensive lineman. We will have more in our episode tomorrow. Please go follow me. I don't know if you can see that, but it's at Josh Sholo29. Go follow at the Giant Take Pod for all your New York Giants updates. The Giant Take on Instagram and Facebook. Please subscribe. Like I said, episode dropping. We're recording it tomorrow, so that's bad on my part. We're recording it tomorrow, dropping it on Thursday. So stay tuned for Thursday morning for a new episode. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.